Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Can I get another big round of applause for Mr. Don Amaro? He's quite the entertainer, quite the singer. We had him here at our last gathering and we invited him back. So we're glad he returned again. Can I get a round of applause for the Victoria Inn and all the great staff, all the great cooks? They're making me look very jolly. I told everybody here I got asked to be Santa, eh? I'm Santa next week on the 21st. I'm not going to tell you where because I know you guys might want to come see me. But yeah, I'll be Santa next week. Always a pleasure being Santa. I was Santa before. Ho, ho, ho. There's my ho, ho, ho. I don't know. It needs some work. I'm going to be practicing on that for the next week. People have been asking me about the reimbursement process. So the reimbursement process will be looked after in Embassy D. Embassy D, so that was in one of the breakout sessions down the hall. It's Embassy D. I believe there's letters sent out from INAC, and they were more than willing to reimburse one selected individual from education and one selected individual from CFS. So if you're that designated person, Embassy D is where you want to go. And those ladies, it'll be Carmen and Sharon assisting with you guys with that process. I don't want you guys all around at once. They're going to be there all afternoon, so you can slowly make your way there throughout the afternoon. Another thing that I wanted to clear up is our roles at the off reserve in regards to off reserve services. There's been a lot of questions, and I've been answering them over and over again, giving not the same response, but our role as special needs advocates is exactly that. We are advocates. We work closely with Health Canada in regards to the Jordan's Principle program. But one of the things that I think is highly misunderstood in the room here is that we're the be-all, end-all for any off-reserve members that you may have seeking services. We are advocates. We advocate to the province. If you go back to the story of Jordan Anderson, is the disagreement that the province had with the federal government in regards to who was going to pay for those services. If our office existed at that time, Jordan's family could have came to us and we would have advocated to both the provincial and federal governments. And we would have been, I don't want to call it mediation, but we would have played that role. Our office is in close contact with all the service providers that were here yesterday and many more. We are in close contact with the Winnipeg Regional Health Authorities and various other health authorities throughout the province. So when one of your off-reserve members comes to our office, we do an intake with them. We ask them to complete a consent form on their behalf in order to advocate for them. Our office is very much an advocacy office. We try to meet the needs of the people best we can, as fast as we can, in the most efficient way possible. So we're in constant contact with Health Canada, INAC at times, and the Tribal Council Service Coordinators. There's still jurisdictional issues at hand. We play a lead role in the advocacy process with those jurisdictional issues. We make sure that the family and the child are all those needs of that family and the child are met in the fastest way possible. So our office, feel free to phone us at any time if you have any questions in regards to any of your off-reserve members. Because I know a lot of the case managers are receiving calls from the off-reserve membership in regards to the services available to them throughout the province. As Chris mentioned yesterday, we have clients in Brandon. We got some calls coming in from Dauphin, those other communities. So we try our best, and we're even willing to go out into those communities to try and meet those services. But the advocates we have on hand are very resourceful. The short-term respite services that Chris advocates for, he's a very resourceful guy. He works with the family until those services are met, or at least some solution is found in the short term. I wanted to address that because we'll be sitting on a panel, and you're more than free to ask us questions, and you're more than free, if you don't want to ask questions up here, you can email me, call me at any time. Call our office at any time. That's why we're there. But I needed to clarify that because there's been a lot of questions as to what our role is in this, in what's going on with Jordan's Principle and the Child First Initiative. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. I guess we'll get right into the panel discussions. It looks like everybody wants to jump up and ask questions. We have them, 50-50. How can I forget? Pull out your 50-50 tickets. It's quite the pot last time Patrick updated me. It's a $380 prize. I didn't buy any tickets, so I can pick the ticket. If that's cool with you guys. Is that cool? No. Okay, I'm going to mix it up a little bit, right? We don't want to pick from the top. Mix it up. And you got to be in attendance to win, correct? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. I'll go with the last four numbers for $380. Your last four numbers, 3404. 3404 for $380. There we go. We got a winner here. Congratulations, sir. You know what he says to me? He's the guy that missed out on the tablet the other day. So he comes back and he's here now and he wins $380. There you guys go. Congratulations, sir. So a reminder to everybody for the Winnipeg Jets tickets, we'll be making that draw on Monday at lunchtime. So you should have left your contact info on there. We'll phone you. We're not going to redraw or anything. You don't have to be in attendance or anything like that. So as long as your phone number is on the back, we'll contact you. You can come pick them up at our office, or if you live up north somewhere, we'll send them to you, or you can get a family member to pick them up, or we'll figure out something to get to you. Or you got to come to Winnipeg to watch the game, right? So you can pick them up on the day of or the couple days before. So we'll figure something out. I think we're ready to go. Oh yeah, one more thing. The evaluations are being accepted at the same place they're selling the 50-50 tickets, Jets tickets. So if you want to hand them in there, please feel free to do so. You don't have to do that right away, but eventually. Is the moderator ready to get things rolling? I believe she is. So I'd like to call up Mary Brown, Scott Amos, Don, Scott, or Derek Bradley, all from Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada. Mr. Joe Gashru, Carrie Gaskin, and me and Darlene will be sitting up here taking questions. I believe, let's see here. We'll be taking a break after a little while. It's 1:23 according to my watch, so maybe around 2:30 we'll see how much we can get through till then. We'll take a break at 2:30.
Easy exit? Yeah. Take the end chair just in case we need to run.
Sit by the mic.
Does this move now?
Is this all of us? This is all of us?
Lots of chairs.
Lots of chairs, yeah.
Can't move down.
See? Told you.
We gotta move closer. Okay. I figure I had an easy exit here.
You do?
That's right. Now I'm gonna have to jump over our chairs. No, that's okay. I can see.
Okay, my name is Kayla Frank. I'm the policy analyst for JP with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. And so throughout the sessions, the 3 days, we ask people to submit their questions, which I'll be asking to our panelists. And for if someone has a question throughout the session, we're gonna get, if you can write it on a piece of paper, Sydney B will pick it up from you, which is, he's over there, and then he'll give me the question and I'll read it out for the panelists. So the first question I have, I think it's going to INAC because it's an education question, is when will First Nation education funding be equal to provincial school funding for independent bands?
Hopefully soon. The memorandum to cabinet is to address that. So the joint memorandum to cabinet going forward, done in conjunction with the AFN and INAC, is being submitted in the near future, probably around February, and that is what is to be addressed. Like I said earlier this morning, I know the AFN had put something out on YouTube on how and what the procedures and processes would look like for that. The long-term vision is individualized formulas for independent bands by region that would address provincial comparability as a base and then enhancements on top of that. So based on that MC going through, there's a timeline that would roll out after that. And it's right now it's really contingent on the MC getting approved.
MC to get approved. Okay, thank you. The next question is, I'm not too sure who wants to answer this, but I guess either INAC or FNEB. What kind of collaboration is happening between GPI and CFS? Thank you, Scott.
I'll give her a go. What was it again? What is the collaboration?
Yeah, is happening between JPI and CFS.
I don't know. Anybody from the community want to come and respond to that? I don't know. That's a difficult one for me as a program funder to respond to. As I mentioned in my presentation, I would hope to see that collaboration is taking place in each of your communities. So yeah, I'm not too sure that I'm the right person to respond to that. Certainly from a bureaucratic approach, we do work closely with our First Nation Inuit Health program colleagues and our, we are all under one department now. So certainly I'm hoping that that will even strengthen that relationship and form that collaborative approach from an implementation standpoint for Jordan's Principal Child First initiative. But for on the ground, I'm not the one that can respond to that. So I know I see some CFS colleagues back there that maybe they can respond. I don't know. Or maybe they have a question.
Could I? Can I add to what Doreen said? What I have found working with Jordan's Principal for more than now, almost a year and a half, is that our community at the local level, they're building those circles of care. And what they have been doing is bringing leaders from education, from CFS, from health, and that's health doesn't only mean Jordan's Principal, but also other health-related programs. And they are creating working groups. And at the local level, they're looking for opportunities to work together. I was in Pegwis a few weeks ago, and we met with a circle of care in that community, and they were looking for opportunities on how to address issues related to mental health. And CFS was there, education was there, and that's what I'm saying, that the grassroots movement is creating those opportunities to work together. And also at the regional level, I believe since the beginning of our work, we started to work with our INAC team, and the one person who was always and has always been there and been very supportive is Scott Amos. We have been working in partnership together and are looking at the big picture together. So there is that collaboration, but majority of the activities are happening at the local level, and we are making sure that there are opportunities that are happening, like let's say rehab services or mental health that are coming to our communities, that they are going to be also be, like CFS is also involved in addressing their mental health related issues using those same services. So we are kind of working more from a team approach as we move forward.
Thank you, Joe.
I'd like to say something as well. And I know I address this when I make presentations at the community level. One of the ways we are working with CFS as it applies to Jordan's Principal CFI is trying to bring those children back to the community. That's our immediate goal, looking at those situations where it's actually doable and doable in a timely fashion before March 2019. So that's kind of where our focus is, and that's where my focus is at INAC. And I'm hoping that at the end of the day, we can report on that. So, and reporting on that means receiving information from you guys. Which children, which families can we bring back? What do we need to have in place so that they can come back to the community? Those types of things. So you need to inform us though, because I don't know.
Okay.
Hello? In the past, CFS always took the lead. When it came to children with disabilities, they went under a VPA. They were put into care for those services and were taken out of the communities. So when they started looking at that project, as you all are aware of, back in the early 90s, they understood what was going on, so they developed that project for that purpose so that these kids didn't have to go under a VPA. Now today, with Jordan's Principle in existence with this Child First initiative, while I was looking at Scott's presentation, and I agree with Mr. Muswagon, there shouldn't be a VPA anymore. If there's a child that does not have any child protection issues, there shouldn't be a VPA. We should be missing that step now, because that child should fall into Jordan's Principle under that case manager and those services delivered in the community. Now, my second question is, when, say for instance, there is no child protection issues, but there is a red flag on the child, there is some concern in the home, where would that fall? Would that go under Jordan's Principle's case manager, or will they work collaboratively with the case manager at the CFS agency in that community? Like, there's a lot of issues, like would a family enhancement worker come into play and work with that worker with Jordan's Principle? So these are the huge issues that I've been approached by many community members when I go into their communities. And right now, I'm networking with AWASA's agency to try and sit down to resolve and answer some of those questions as a team. And we're going to be holding that sometimes in February. So we need to sit down and discuss those issues, is my question, and hopefully answer.
Thanks for the question, Helen. And yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, and I think Mike did mention it, and I also responded to it when I was doing my overview, that there should not be the need for a family to sign a voluntary placement agreement going forward to access services. And when there is no protection services, then yeah, likely child welfare doesn't even need to be involved in that case. That should be navigated through the case manager and the existing service providers within the community that are required to support that child's needs within the family home in the community. Now, having said that, if upon that review and that activity of mapping what the service requirements are, you identify gaps, then certainly that is a Jordan's Principle request, that you would need to identify what those gaps are and submit your request to either Mary or Joe to have them addressed. Now, when you reference the case, the second scenario, that there's actually maybe prior contact with child and family services, or an existing file may be open on the family. Again, not really my place to indicate what should happen in the community, but I would think that you would be working then collectively with that child welfare agency, if there's an existing file open on the family, to navigate what supports again may be required to ensure that child is maintained in their home, given that it's safe to do so and that there's minimal risk there with regards to protection concerns. But again, I would anticipate that that's done again at the community level to hammer out what that process is.
Thank you. The next question I have for the panels is the Jordan's Principle initiative going to be funded past 2019? It's important to know, as stakeholders and others are planning, or others for planning purposes, for those children and families who will continue to benefit.
I can give a very quick answer. Bonnie Beach this morning responded to that. That we now don't know, but we are working to answer. So more information will be coming to our communities as well as to us.
The next question is, how do you see UNDRIP and its full implementation impacting how on-reserve programs and services are delivered? Is the Liberal government sincere in honoring UNDRIP, in that there has been any discussions at the bureaucracy departmental level?
I can't speak for the government, like the party itself, but I can speak for what I see. I see people who are honest and ready to do the right thing, and the right thing is to live to the truth and reconciliation that the rebel governments from the beginning they failed to form. So I see that, and I believe that's what we heard this morning, and that's what we see even with the change that we have now being one department. So I see that happening, but I can't speak for the rebel government itself. I don't know whether you want to add anything, but I see honesty and more accountability and truth and reconciliation being honored.
I would concur with Joe's comments as a bureaucrat within the system, not an elected official. It is this Liberal government's platform, or one of their platforms, so certainly I would assume that they will keep to that, but yeah, I can't speak for the government as well.
Thank you. So the next question is directed to INAC, specifically in education. MF-NERC has been provided funding for Jordan's principal via Health Canada. They are limited to travel to remote communities due to the budget constraints. The volume of caseloads for school-age children is growing. In order to provide adequate services that a child would receive in the city, frequent attendance is required. The elimination of barriers is what Jordan's principle is all about. Why is this still happening?
Jordan's principal funding that MF-NERC receives is coming directly from Health Canada, so I'll let Health Canada address that.
So, thank you. When we were approached by Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Center, they explained to us that the reason why we had a huge waiting list for OT, PT, speech therapy, and audiology, as well as mental health, is because they did not have enough funding. So what we did is we asked them, how much would you be able or would you need in order to reduce the waiting list? So they came back to us, like at the FINIP, we usually don't tell communities or even our organizations what we are going to fund them. We usually ask for a dream project. So they gave us a dream project. And the dream project was to hire 60 practitioners to go to all 56 communities. And they were going to use some of the funding from INAC and then augment using our funding so that they could increase more service to our communities. And that's how we approach that process. And I won't talk into how much they're getting, but I haven't had any issue so far where they cannot travel. So I can't speak into that. And I wouldn't mind to know which community is that, because I like to work with the community as well as with MF-NERC to make sure that those services are coming to your community. I can attest to the fact that they were able to hire, for the first time, 60 people to come to our communities. I can also attest that for the first time, they have an audiologist on board working for our First Nations. So there is so much they're trying to do, but there is still a lot of work to be done. So that's why we are at, but I see huge opportunities ahead of us.
Thank you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is I just came from the hospital yesterday, and there was here I had my high hopes in bringing my son home, and St. Amant dropped a bomb on me. This is a bid that was won by them from Health Canada, from the Jordan's principal. And here I thought my child was going to come home without no red tapes, going through so many programs. And to hear I have to go through the social program to qualify for through Jordan's principal. And not to with another barrier for us. And this is a child that's been in a hospital for over a year. And there's another child that's older than River that's been there for over 5 years. And there's like nobody in a special care unit or even in children's hospital to even advocate for any of us parents. They keep telling us go to Eagle or these other places. We even invited AMC's delegates to come and sit with us as parents, because we as parents are so concentrating on our son to make sure this kid is not taken from us. And it's hard as a mother to come out here to speak on behalf of my child while all of you are sitting here talking about funding. Come back a notch and look at this child, the children that are in a children's hospital. They've been sitting there for a year, laying down. My son lost his momentum in walking. Every month now my son has seizures, attacks. Still today, they call my son the $1 million kid, because we went as far as getting his DNA analysis on our whole family to find out what was wrong with him. And this is heartbreaking that I'm still standing up, because I lost sons, 3 boys in our family that perished in a fire. That's when River's journey started with his sickness, because of cryptosporidium, water contaminated. It triggered his sickness. Now it's his lungs that are affected by this. Now, we went far as getting their ramps done, his lift in that house. And there's not even only that. Health Canada needs to cooperate with Children's Hospital too, Westock. Not to give a pass a bucket. It's FINIP, it's Indian Affairs. You guys have to work as one. There was another person that asked me to speak up on behalf of her and ask everybody that's listening to us. There's a little girl that's actually in surgery right now. She wasn't supposed to come here. She did come here yesterday. Elizabeth from the OCN with her daughter. She's been here with a few of our workshops with Jordan's principal, that she spoke out on behalf about the limit that a child gets through medical. Same thing, we just found out too that our son is only getting 4 bags of feeding tubes, 4 bags a month, per month. And every day the hospital gets a kid a bag a day to get that feeding tube. What is the difference between a parent getting that qualification to the hospital, especially when the child's going home? Why are we so limited to a child that's sick to get that same benefit as they do in a hospital? And they're telling me I have to clean this tube in a bag with vinegar and water to reuse every day for the next 31 days a month for 4 bags. And as a paddler, we use those tubes too. 60 miles. As soon as we're done using, we throw them away because they're not going to be any good for the next race, because there's bacteria in those tubes already. Now, is it right for a child to be using those tubes at all? Is it right to have that child to get sick again because of bacteria going into their stomach, their lungs? You know, my son has a trach also. I am learning how to do that for my son, to do the suctioning on him for him to breathe. You know, yes, it's overwhelming for everybody to start, you know, start listening, start working with people. We need an advocate in that children's hospital. Literally in that hospital where we start from. And another thing too, our nurses, I mean, because you, Indian Affairs, you're given this task as a treaty right for us. Under the Treaty 6, there's a health chest there, medicine chest, to be used. Our nurses are overwhelmed at the Children's Hospital and the Health Science Center because of the cutbacks that are happening. I see this daily for my child because one nurse to 4 kids. There was already an incident that happened with my son having a seizure and another kid getting sick at the same time. And sometimes those kids in that ward are all sick and they're pulling other nurses and doctors from different departments to come and help. We need voices from your department too to push provincial and federal to do something about our health here, our health cutbacks. You are the voices. You're given that task. Use it.
Good afternoon. My name is Shirley Castell. I'm from Pucketwagon, isolated community. My daughter that just finished speaking, she was forced to relocate to Winnipeg. She was forced, she had a job. Her 1-year EI has expired. Now she's living off her child tax in order to pay her rent and utilities within the city of Winnipeg. There's no assistance. So all this money within the Jordan's principle, where is it going? It's going towards administration. It's going to workshops like this. But it's not really helping families like my daughter, Salina, and my grandson, River. So there needs to be a movement in helping families, not telling them they have to give up their child to Child and Family Services or to the province in order to get help. That's wrong, very wrong. My daughter is very independent. She doesn't drink, she doesn't do drugs. She's a very good parent to her children. She's a role model. She's a paddler. And yet, she's getting all these negative answers. She's not getting the support. So my recommendation to you panel, like in the north, I come from the north, I come from an isolated community. We want a hospital in the north that provides the services that they give in here in Winnipeg. Why are we forced to relocate our children to Winnipeg when they can have that service in the north? They can have it in the north, in the south, wherever. With all this money being dropped, there's no plan for it. We need to commit the services that are intended for children like River and like the late Jordan that has spoken on behalf of children in the future. We need to have those services provided up north instead of sending our children further away and telling the parents, you can't work because you have to provide 24-hour service to your child. And you're not eligible for welfare because you can work. There's always red tape being thrown at them. So what is a parent to do? Well, the only way our children are going to be coming home, they're going to be coming home in a casket. So that's reality. And you have to start looking at the real truth, the real reality here. And we have to find resources and plans and a system. Going away from Child and Family Services, you can't direct parents to go that route. You can't. I, as a grandmother, I have 5 children of my own that I raised. And there is no God-given way that I'm going to give my grandson up to Child and Family Services. I'll do what I can to keep my child, my grandson, within my family. There you go, sir.
I just wanted to say, you know, I've been in the healthcare for a long time, and in Fish River for 28 years. And there's always this funding, and there's always this question of why things are not given. Dressing trays we're taking and all kinds of things. Where's non-insured health benefits? Where's the people from Ottawa? They need to be available to answer questions, because people such as this family here should not have to suffer. I know I was in home care, and even a home care client was told that with her trach tubes, she had to rinse them and reuse them. That's not health. That's not giving health to our people. We need non-insured to be here, the ones right from Ottawa. If it wasn't for me to advocate for one of my clients who had missing legs and digits, they wanted him to take the tunnels to go to rehab. I said, that's crazy. And they don't have volunteers to take anyone. I said, he needs transportation. It was only a 5-minute drive, but I got it. I fought for it. They need to hear us. They need to know what we have to face. And it's very unfortunate, and I hope that you get what you need, because your boy needs to be at home with you. That's the reason that we started this Jordan's Principle. It should have been started long ago. But we as a people need to stand together, and instead of taking the kids out of the home, take the parents out of the home. Why should the children have to go from home to home to home? Maybe there's places where family members can come and look after them in their own home, in their own environment. Instead of the parents getting to stay in their home, take them and get them treatment and leave those kids in their own home, in their own community.
I want to thank you, Selena, for sharing your story with us. And I want to ask either INAC or Health Canada if they could respond to some of her questions that she proposed.
I can start, and I know I work with Kerry from the non-insured health benefit, but I want to say that our hearts goes to you, Mom. We are parents, and myself, I'm a parent, and one of my children has some disability. So I know what you're saying. It's real, and that's because I go through that majority of the time when I'm dealing with his needs. So my heart goes to you. One thing that maybe before even I answer your questions is that there are two focal points. That's Mary Brown and myself. I'm at the FINIP. And you can call me anytime, 24/7. My phone is always on. And I'm going to give my number here, so you can call me with any questions related to health. And my number is 204-983-2213. I have never, since we started to have the calls, I've never declined to return a call. So we have always returned calls, and even when I'm traveling, I always have a Raymond or Susan providing the answers that are needed. Having said that, I want to start with the medical equipment. Medical equipment at the FINIP, the way the process is, if there is any need for any child from 0 to 21, it goes through the same process, the same process we usually go through for medical equipment acquisition. So it goes to your, you get a prescription, it goes to your provider. It comes to Kerry's desk, and as soon as it's identified, it's not something that's covered under the uninsured health benefit, comes to me or to Raymond. And we have been supporting all the requests that have come through us. None of the requests have come through us has been declined. We have funded things that could never be funded before, and we are willing and we are ready to support you. So maybe after this meeting, I would like to meet with you because we want to help you in the situation we identified. Because we believe it's a new day for our children. We believe we are here to work with you as a parent. We want to remove any barriers so that you can be able to do your best to support your children, and especially your son. The other thing that you identified it's about services in Park Tawagan or in Matthias Korom. Right now, we have funding that has gone to the community for respite. So should you be ready to go back home, we want to support you. We would like also to create a case management process so that we can work with our INAC team and ourselves to make sure that you get what you need when you go back home. We have already done the same with Center Mount for a child who was in Center Mount for 5 years. And we made sure that the child, but before they went back home, and they also came from a remote and isolated community, before they went back home, we had everything they needed. And we are continuing to support them there because our plan and our hope is to see our children coming back home. And we want to stand with you. We don't want to drop anything. We want you to be able to feel that we mean what we are saying. We want to stand there with you. So I want to speak from that angle, and I don't know whether, Kerry, you have anything to add. But we are sorry if we have let you down. But it's a new day. Give us a chance because we want to support you.
My name is Carrie Gaskin. I'm one of the operations managers at Non-Insured Health Benefits, and it's my team that receives the requests for medical supplies and equipment, vision as well. My heart does go out to you. Just as Joe had said, I also am a mother. I will give you my direct line as well, 204-983-2151. And Joe, I'd like to join you in meeting the family and seeing if there's any unaddressed needs. I would like to mention that non-insured's medical supplies and equipment are meant for use in the home. So regardless of whether you have a treaty number or not, when you're in the hospital, you're the responsibility of the hospital. They're supposed to be providing the clients, the patients, with their medications. With their tubes, with anything that the person needs while they're in hospital. So I'd really like to have a conversation with someone at the hospital as to why they're not providing those services to you. And I'm not saying that non-insured won't fund them, but I also would like a bit more information. And that's the feeding pump bags? Yes, the feeding bags. Okay. I can tell you that those...
It's just not the feeding bags. It's also the parents that was here a couple months ago that came out to talk about her daughter. Now, that's the one that's in a hospital today. That's going through her day surgery. She was only getting a limited. And her child almost got taken away from her because she was limited to the what do you call that?
Is that the catheters?
Catheters.
Right. And
limited catheters to a child, which that child ended up getting very sick. And the medical staff who scrutinizes parents who tell you you're not capable of looking after your child, they're the ones that actually tell you as a mother or a father you're not capable of taking your kid home because you are not qualified to look after your child. And that's where CFS comes in. So we're forced to actually advocate for ourselves at the same time, and at the same time we ask for our papers. What was said, they don't like us taping them, I'll tell you that. When we record our kids in the hospital every day and day out, I got in crap for doing that because I was doing that for just to do daily routine for my son, what's happening with him. I even videotape my son when he has his seizures just to see how complicated it is for a parent to see their child going into a seizure, how our medical staff are provided in there. So I'm just saying that it's why, as parents who bring their kids home off the children's hospital or any other hospital, why are we limited with medical supplies? We should be getting the same support as is in the hospital does.
I can tell you that the catheter amount has been changed significantly, and every case is looked at on an individual basis. The non-insured health benefits program for medical supplies and equipment is constantly changing across the country. People in my position, we meet every month and we bring forward issues all the time. Like, why do we have to have it like this? And there are lots of cases where we've been able to make changes to limits and criteria and those sorts of things. Every case is different. Every child is different. I encourage all of you, if you have any questions, you can contact myself directly, or you can call the general non-insured health benefits line. There was a handout available over the last couple of days at the Health Canada booth. It looked like this. It has all the toll-free numbers for all of the non-insured health benefit areas on it as well. There's more information available at the canada.ca website. You can go to Google and type in NIHB medical supplies and equipment. The drug benefit list is available online. I really encourage you to reach out to us. If we don't know what the answer is, if we've never come across a situation before, we will look into it and get back to you. If it's not something that we can help you with, we can provide guidance. So it might have to go to to Scott's area, or I'll talk to Joe and see what we can do. We are here to help.
I'd also like to add, like, the assistance that you're receiving is probably through provincial funding. And we all know where the provincial funding is at in regards to healthcare. There's nonstop cutbacks in that regard. And I too believe, and Celine is not the first one to mention the fact that, and her mom here, that there needs to be a hospital in the northern region of Manitoba. I believe strongly in that as well, and a lot of people that we talk to believe that as well. There's no reason why a person that lives in the northern region of Manitoba should have to come to Winnipeg to be relocated. But a lot of it depends on the leadership and advocacy at the chiefs level. So I would urge the chiefs to make that part of their mandate in moving forward to get those services available in the northern region of Manitoba, because I know a lot of the clients that we assist come from the northern region of Manitoba. But again, my heart goes out to the family, and we'd be more than willing to assist in any way possible. So I'm sorry that's happening to you and your family, Selena, that stepped out of the room.
No, you can't. You had your turn. Sit down. Just kidding.
Over and over. And she said, Helen, sometimes I was told to boil it. I says, it's plastic. I wouldn't do that. So yes, I see and hear her voice. I hear her voice up north as well. And I guess what she's asking you, why are there limits on those medical supplies compared to the abundance in the hospitals, is what she's asking. Why is the care different? So like when you go home, like when you go to the north, we have limited resources. And those children need those medical supplies. And they need to be sterile, they need to be changed. And she's correct in what she's saying. So I support her, and that's all she's asking is why are there limits? Is all she's asking. Why is there a difference? And I'm asking the same thing.
Under the non-insured health benefits program, there are a whole list of things that are available. And as I said before, every case is looked at individually. So a lot of times when there is a maximum amount assigned to a specific item, If a child or an adult needs more than that quantity, all that is required is a little bit of more information specifically about the child, or maybe the person who is caring for them has some challenges with their mobility, or, I mean, there's all sorts of factors that influence the decision-making process. So a lot of time, if it's limited, it's because we don't have that extra little bit of information. So again, if there are questions, if there are needs that non-insured is not meeting for specific clients, definitely call. You can call myself, call our general inquiries line. There's also patient navigators at Southern Chiefs Organization and two at MKO. Reach out to them, reach out to Ryan and Darlene. We non-insured coordinates and collaborates with them as well. Reach out and let us know that it's happening, and then we can look into it. When you are calling, we would need the client's name, the child's name, their date of birth, and their treaty number if it's available. And then we can look to see what's actually happening and help.
Just to add, I have lots of respect for Carrie because none of the requests that has come through has been declined. She has graciously fought for us with HQ because some of the policies we are limited, but she has provided what's needed, as well as if it can be met under Jordan's principle, we have been funding. And that's, we have not declined any request. There have been in some situations where catheters, additional catheters were needed, we added, even increased even more than it was being requested. So as Carrie said, it's each case is different, but we want to know about those cases out there so that we can help. It's a new day, and we are very thankful, and I can't say enough. Carrie has done huge amount of us for us at the Jordan Spinso because she advocates on our behalf, as well as she's working with us to create better processes to meet the needs of our children and families.
Thank you. Do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Tanua, Selena? All right, she's already receiving the call. You're fast. That's good. I hope it's that way, and it should be that way. I want to say this. History is supposed to be our teacher. And if we don't know where we came from, how the hell are we going to know where we're going? So, and I say this from the perspective of OASIS agency and now the 11 communities that OASIS provides service to. I can also say this as a parent of what was once a medically complex health child before the project that is being referred to. And so we have these experiences. I was one of those parents whose child had to come into care. When she was born, I was told 2 days. Count your minutes, you may have 2 days. I even went, in the moment of the shock, I even tried counting how many tubes there were attached to my little girl. And I lost count somewhere because I would get emotional just in the counting piece. Then 2 days became 1 week. 1 week became 1 month. Month became a year. I'm a grandpa now. And I've said this, though we may sometimes be painted in different pictures, and I don't mind saying this out loud, that I'm still convinced that I owe my daughter's life to OASIS agency. The arrangements that they were made with the people that they made arrangements with allowed her to receive the services that we weren't able to provide medically. And so when I sit and I hear and we have these experiences, and I want to thank Selena for bringing us back to the point of why we're here. So here we are, we're supposed to feel good. But it's not lost to me that this was a human rights case. It will never be lost to me that this was a human rights case. The assembled panel is only there because the government got forced to do this. Their hand got forced. Because, remember, it started out as a jurisdictional dispute. Jordan got forced, right, to leave the community, to receive services that would otherwise be available. So, no disrespect to AMC and all the good work that AMC is doing. It still does come back down to this, though. For in those situations where there is capacity, there is willingness, this is supposed to be for those children to be able to grow in their communities with their families. And then CMHC shows up and does their thing, and they know that half of our First Nations are under third-party management. They don't qualify for any of those things. I wish I could feel good about that, but I don't. I have inherited the responsibility of a child welfare agency that has over 800 children in care. The most at any other time in its history. It used to have 25 First Nations, now it's down to 11. Yet the number is triple what it used to be. Of those 800, 400 plus of those children are quote-unquote, have been leveled to what in the CFS leveling system as 4 plus. 50% of those children are going to need some kind of specialized services or additional supports that are outside of that home. I don't know what that number is going to be at the end of the day. So what is going to be the threshold? So OASIS, back in the day, had a project. And it was with what was referred to as highly medically complex children cases. So, Scott, respectfully, my friend, there was nothing voluntary about Jordan's arrangement. The arrangement is called a voluntary placement agreement, VPA. But there isn't anything voluntary about that. Let's, as has been said, the devil's in the details. There wasn't anything voluntary about that. He did not voluntarily come into care. They were not given a choice in the matter, as I was not. So, in that particular instance, this is what I fear when I said about history. I would like to think, because in my case, with my daughter, it was pre-project that she was referring to. In that project, it was all-encompassing. We retrofitted houses in cases where, for those of us who are in a position to decide houses for recipients, we did that for the project in partnership with we did all of that. But here's what happened, and this is what scares me here. Our success, your success, potentially may what kill this arrangement. It's our experience as Indian people. When we get it done right, it ends. And so I so appreciate the exchanges and the soft conversation. But the question still is, what happens post-2019? Like, what actually happens with these arrangements that you're starting now? Because at the end of the day, we're going to be the ones dealing with that, right? We're the ones. And just one other thing, and that's this. I see Peter sitting here. The question about Saint Amand. And so from our perspective, all due respect, it almost looks like you knew this was coming and your empire building off reserve one more time. Nobody came to ask our agency if, these potential 200 potential clients I have under my care, if the money should go to MF-NERC. Nobody asked us that. I don't think anybody asked the parents that. Because all of that really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot for what she just talked about. And I wanted to thank you while you were away, because it does come back down to that. Is how does she get to go home with her child? And what services are going to be made available for her to go home? And where else is a person supposed to be forced to give up employment so they could provide service to their child? And here's what worries me. The faster you federal people move it off reserve, the further back the province can stand back and say, good, those Indians are looking after themselves. Look, they're doing good. It's not, and they said it. They actually said this, and it was not said all day or the day before or before that or in the previous gathering. They talked about treaty right to health. Yes, your answer, as in your level, is, yeah, we're not in a position to answer that. We're just delivering a program. I understand that, and I respect your position as individuals. But these are treaty people. They have a fiduciary relationship with the Crown. And, that's a leadership question. I understand that. But it should be said for all of us to remember. So, not to take any more. As the kids were aging out, we weren't allowed to take in any more. As if special needs children with special challenges stopped being born. So, I'll say this. Please promise us that ain't going to happen here. Because remember, this was a human rights case. And we can't lose sight of that. While we position, I should get more positions, I need more, I need a building, how come you're not giving us this? This was a human rights case. And perhaps in Manitoba, that's how we also need to think about it. Because this began as a human rights case, and it should go forward as a human rights case. Because where else would your scenario happen? And I thank you for bringing us back to where we started. And I hope that'll help us in terms of determining where we're going. So that was my long statement. Thank you very much. I'm taking up your time. So.
I'd like to probably answer the part for Jordan's principle in our communities. Health Canada at the time, now Indigenous Service FINIM, took the lead. From the beginning, we did a few things that we wanted to change the story. One thing we wanted is we wanted the communities to tell us where they wanted us to go. So instead of using any previous way of doing things, we went back to the community. And as each of our communities, like I have traveled in the last maybe year and a half to almost every community. And what we requested is a dream. One thing that I got from our regional executive officer is that she wanted every community in Manitoba, that's our 63 communities, to have a Jordan's Principle project. And that's what we have worked towards to. Right now we have 62 communities with Jordan's Principle project. The other thing that we wanted to do is the first year, we do our best to have all the funding out and all the projects starting, because that's the most critical year out of the 3 years. Because by building or creating a foundation the first year, then it will be able to help us to be able to see how the future, and also speak to our national office how our future for Manitoba should look like. And I want to say, and I'm not getting any credit here, but I want to say that Manitoba is the only province that has done Jordan's Principle the way we have done it. every other province has been a building on a case by case, but we had more of a system approach. And that's the message we are selling, and that's the message we are going to request for more funding as we move forward. I can't speak into 2019-20 because we don't know how the funding is going to look like. And now that we are part of we are INAC and FNIBAT one unit, we are going to probably build more strong processes as we move forward. So I can't speak into the unknown, but I can speak of what I already know, that there is great hope among our First Nation communities. And we're not going to stop because there is still a lot of work to be done. So we want to continue to work with you. I believe we have started to see some change, and that change is not going away. What I hear from our First Nation is that this is a movement, and it's being led by our First Nations. I want to say, keep on reading it, and we're going to forward and work with you. And that's our intention, to make it a First Nation led, because you have the voice. Your voice is louder than my voice. And I believe that if we start together, this is going to get better for our children and for our families, so that we can be able to get where we want to go.
Thank you, Joe. I'm going to ask one more question, and then after this question, we'll go for a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back to the panel discussion. So this one is for INAC. I'm encountering many families who need assistance with filling out paperwork for disability tax and treaty numbers. Who can I ask for help with this?
With regards to the Indian registration, there would be somebody in the community. I'm not sure the question's in the context of off reserve or on reserve, but if the question is coming from a resident on reserve, there would be registers in each of the communities that would take care of that. Often it's through the income assistance administrators that would take place. As for the disability tax credit, again, sorry, go back to the first one. The off-reserve piece, I believe that through Eagle Urban, they can assist with the completion of the paperwork necessary for, well, probably both those items. You can assist clients with that. And then on reserve again. Talk louder? Yeah. Is it on? So again, I'll just go back to the start. So one was to paperwork associated with registration and paperwork required for disability tax credit. So off-reserve access to support that activity can be done through Eagle Urban Transition Center. If, again, the question is coming from an off-reserve resident. And if it is on reserve, I would encourage the folks, you can work with your, there's a register in each of the First Nation communities, and most often it is through the Income Assistance Administrator's office, if not the same person in some cases. So I think that covers that one.
Okay, so now it's 2:27. We'll take a quick 10-minute break, and then we'll come back, and I'll start to read out our questions again, because I have a huge pile that questions needs to be answered. Thank you.
There must be some message.
That's kind of what they need.
So I could have maybe tried to get something across here. just if there's something illegal or pending lawsuit on the registration, I would have just worked on it. So give me just the I am from INAC.
Got it.
But Mary is our focal point for INAC. So what's his question?
Oh, we were just talking about that.
So I just like to have that information on hand. It's just too much to write down. So okay, I'll send it. Thanks so much.
Sounded like a health issue too. I was going to say, I thought about
Statistics.
No, it's not. That's the file that I still need to ask. Yeah. Okay. Well, the thing is, like, I'll read it, they'll answer it, and if you want to elaborate more afterwards, just because there's going to be tons of questions, and this is why we did it this way, because we want to get as much questions and for them to answer as much. Exactly, and that's what we're trying to prevent it as much as we can. Like, it just puts someone like 15 minutes. One question, you know what I mean? Exactly. So it's easier to kind of like determine which questions to ask and filter them out. Yeah.
it's different in every community.
Yeah. So you're next. Which? Okay. Yeah.
Where?
But the bottom. Okay.
Monday traveling to practice community meeting.
Okay. What's your Main Street number?
So what are some?
Okay, you know what?
What are the types
You want to call me
in the community?
Write her treaty number down, the whole 9 digits, and her date of birth. Is this her full name or is there another name? Yeah, and the baby's name. When I go back, I'll look for it because I'm in the office tomorrow morning, and I'll call you. Give me your phone number as well.
Her benefits. We're thinking of meeting tomorrow.
Was your daughter not? Was your? Right. We can give her a temporary being number if I know that her application is in. I can go in the system though and find out. Okay, so that's how we can help at INAC, right? Because the whole registration unit is a couple of floors below us, and they actually know that these are the types of requests that are going to come forward. Because now people can't come into the building, right? Because of that protest, remember when they took over the building? Yeah, ever since then, can't have the public in there. Yeah, and the lines are busy. No, get all that information. I will check tomorrow morning and I'll call you back. But I need your phone number. I'll tell you where it's at, okay? And put the little girl's name down as well. Her full name and date of birth. And don't forget to give that back to me.
I might probably use here because I'm like, we might need more time there. So might use then they charge my visa. Carrie has been doing, she has been across and internet, and I was unfortunate that she's been going through all that.
Oh my gosh.
Even in all the information that's available
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Yeah. Yeah, I know who he is. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Is it this one?
caregiving level.
Because I was like, I'm not going to read this writing. This one? Was it on one?
Sometimes that's not enough information for us to say. I hate saying
In the beginning? Was it on a piece of paper?
so. Yeah, and I do go for I challenge our all the time, and I honestly I enjoy doing it because this is.
Yeah, I don't know. I have 10 already.
Expectations are shared. Like it shouldn't be. They shouldn't be forced to sign papers. The child
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, or early childhood development worker. Yeah, because you're certified now, right?
Then cannot be less than
What Sarah has to say is we're struggling, however, we have a certified early childhood development 3 who's at a director level for early childhood development. Can we bring her in and hire her? Because it's just case management, it's case management, but it's the wording. He probably doesn't understand it. Right. We have someone here who's at the director level of an early childhood development. And he'll probably say yes because the community is struggling to get a permanent case manager.
without any assistance from anybody.
Yeah, no, just how she words it. She has to be very specific. He comes from a clinical background. It's not like us, we're program. We understand. Yeah. So, and if Sarah wants to talk to me, tell her to give me a call. But I'm only in the office tomorrow morning, and then I'm gone until after Christmas. Okay? And I can help you with the wording. Yeah. Or send me an email, because I always on my BlackBerry. Almost, eh? So her number is actually 1109, right? And she's from 302. Yeah. And this is her daughter. Okay. And where's your phone number?
There isn't any other reason other than those ones. We need to work with an assistant. They are the ones who are going to provide you with the primary support. And the advantage with you is because of what doctors do is free. So that's it.
And if we can find it in the system, that means they have received it, but if we can find it in the system and that little girl needs medical equipment or prescriptions or whatever, then non-insured, as long as they know that the paperwork is non-insured, will give her a temporary fee.
And then Jonas People, they will be providing additional support.
So let me look into it.
See a possibility.
Let me look into it, I'll get back to you, and then we may just issue a temporary number, but I'll just confirm it if it's in place.
So maybe we can talk and we plan for the 20th.
look into it. I promise I'll get back.
You have my number?
I'll get back to you before I leave.
Yes. Okay. So you can call just make sure that we will arrange for a quick meeting at 1 p.m. Okay. Yeah. Welcome. Thank you.
At the nursing section, at neuroscience. A medical boarding home? Today. Because they protect each other. It's like the police. It's like the fire department. They all protect each other. How old is she? When? How old is she? Who did she pass away from? Really? After all these years? Surviving? She had a lot of health issues. Where? Kelowna? Or did she lose her status when she was adopted? She didn't. What would they say? Why was she not covered any longer? Why? Did she just need a new doctor's note? Isn't it? I don't know what happened here. Something's fishy. Hey, who's that Inuit? I meant to ask you, who's that Inuit-looking girl you're with? She was sitting with you at your table for case management. The one that looks like an Inuit. Like her eyes are like this, and she wears robes. I thought she was with you guys. I don't know. Who's that?
If we could get all the panelists back on the stage, that will be great, as we are going to be starting shortly.
Once you explain the qualifications of a director level ECE, they'll have a better understanding. Send it to me and I can send it. If that's what you want to do. Yeah. Well, you know what? Let me know. You know my email address. Don't forget the 2 behind Brown now, eh? Mary Dawn Brown 2 at Canada. No, because they wouldn't. Because
we had to give her 2. She's so busy. She overloaded.
Also, I would like to mention that there's going to be an autism spectrum disorder workshop on January 22nd, 2018, here in Winnipeg. For more information, you could come to the registration desk to get one of these flyers.
I'll always be number 1. Bye, Vicky. I'm thirsty. I'm just gonna go grab something.
Where are our panelists? We have 1 panelist ready to go. We need 7 more.
Already?
This is actually maybe it's case from Pop. It's got the same. It's coming through the CFS agency. They won't have involvement with the CFS agency, but the family is really struggling to find connections on how they can access financial support. They make reference to saying that child is currently in
Okay, so they want financial support, what, to visit their child?
Well, it doesn't really. They're having trouble meeting their expenses such as rent, because they've had to relocate off reserve.
That's inconsistent.
No, I know. But we're going to have to navigate.
Yeah. One holding.
Hey, when do you leave? When do you leave?
Saturday.
Okay, well, I expect you to do it.
Where's the panelists? If any of the panelists are chit-chatting, And I urge them to come up. There's a couple of them. Over to the right. Getting recharged. Come on back up. We want to finish off today. We're going to keep going till about 3:30 today. 3:30 because I know we got a lot of travelers. I want to get back on the highway. And we don't want them driving too far in the dark.
Man, it's cold in here. Either that or I'm getting old.
I think we're still missing Joe. Just Joe, right?
Turn the heat off?
I don't know.
Should I just begin?
Yeah.
This is a new, isn't this? Well, maybe this isn't the new part.
This one's a CFS question.
This is at the back of the building.
Yeah, so is this the new, is it?
Okay, I'm going to just dive back into the panel discussion. So for our next question, CFS was and is a product of residential school. Our children and families are suffering still due to the CFS system. So why is case management for Jordan's principal coming from a CFS perspective/approach?
Okay, well, thanks for the question from whoever it's from, but I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure that it is. It's my understanding that through the Jordan's Principal Child First initiative, that there has been case managers supported, funding provided to support case managers in each of the 63 First Nations in Manitoba. I think what I'm hearing today was more of questions on how, I think it was the first question you asked about how do they collaborate, Jordan's Principal and Child and Family Services. So I'd go back to that original response that needs to be, that approach and that collaboration needs to be determined and developed at the community level with the Child and Family Services Agency, as well as all the other service collaterals that are in the community to, I guess, develop and implement an approach that fits that specific community. I don't know that it is based on a Child and Family Services case management approach, but certainly I would think that there is best practices out there with regards to case management, not only with Child and Family Services, but also over on the health side of programs where they would also be managing cases and have established processes on how that's done in each community. So certainly those could be married up to come up with a community-based approach to managing Jordan's Principal cases.
Further to that, I think it's kind of directed as to why we asked Selena and Kelly to facilitate that workshop. We went at it, and I think Selena and Kelly went at it. She's in the room right now, so I better be careful with my wording here. We asked them to deliver it in such a way that it was beneficial to everybody that attended that workshop. In no way did we want it to, this is how you got to deliver it through the CFS model. If you got that, I apologize, because in no way did we want it delivered it like that. We said we don't want to recreate another CFS system through the Jordan's Principal Child First initiative. We never meant to do that. We just thought there's a lot of perspectives in regards to the Jordan's Principal Child First initiative that relate to how the case management process goes within the child welfare system. But in no way did we want, this is the way you got to deliver it to the CFS model. We didn't want to go through that, and I think Selena presented that well, and Kelly, her co-worker, presented that well, and in no way did they want it to come across that way. So whoever is asking that question, I apologize to you, and please come and talk to me after the panel discussion, and we can go further into why we asked Selena and Kelly to deliver that session.
Thank you, Ryan. So the next question is, can you get Frontier School Division to be more involved with our community, Jordan Principal, to let us know what services they have and to be included in sessions as this?
Yeah, we could meet with Frontier School Division. They have 5 different administrative areas within the province. We could meet with them, saying that at a conference such as this, that it'd be wise for them to attend. However, we could also have the conversation on if we knew exactly which community it was, that they would like to have a conversation around the Jordan Principal Initiative.
Okay. I don't know if anyone is here who had that question, and I guess just to speak with yourself in regards to Frontier and making those linkage between that community. Okay. So the next question is in regards to social development. Respite payment to family members, why does it affect their social assistance? Can a letter be sent out to First Nation administrators if it does not affect their social assistance?
Okay, taxation. So, yeah, only a foster income that is paid through First Nation Child and Family Services Program or the provincial equivalent is tax exempt. So not seen as income coming into the household. So if an individual is providing respite or support work services through a given agency, that would be viewed as income into that individual. Like it's not tax exempt, that piece of it. I'm not a taxation expert by no means, but certainly that's the way it's laid out. So that's why when you're looking at the income assistance side, it's included into the envelope as to the income that that individual is earning, if they're in fact being paid for respite or support services. It's not exempt. Only the foster parent fee for service would be, and basic maintenance would be exemptions.
Okay, so the next question is in regards to Indian registry. If a child is not registered yet, if a child is not registered yet, if both parents have joint custody and there's a family breakdown, one parent's left the province prior to the child being registered, would we still need both parents to sign the form?
We're getting many of these questions throughout the 3-day gathering here. And what I can suggest is that if you have particular questions as it pertains to membership and registration, we did actually request that they come and present as well and be available for the panel. However, like I explained on Tuesday when we had our opening remarks, there's some changes coming down the road and as early as next week, so they thought it better not to do a presentation. However, having said this, if there's any particular questions that you're looking at, please touch base with me. I'll get your information and I'll get an answer or a reply back to you from registration. I understand how difficult it is sometimes getting through on the phone lines. So either give me a call or send me an email and I will look into it for you, because every situation is different and I need to know what's in the system, and I don't have the system in front of me in order to respond at this time. So I've already taken a few inquiries, so I'm willing to take some more today if you're still around, if you want to come and see me. Thanks.
Okay, the next question is, when will Aboriginal Head Start on reserve funding increase? When will it be comparable to other early childhood education programs off reserve?
My manager's here, Rory Rudolph Comfort, so she can answer the question. She is the manager for the Head Start program. As well as Jessica, who is the lead for Head Start. So yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Lori Ralph Crawford. I work in the Capacity Development Unit at First Nations Inuit Health Branch. And I have with me here Jessica Almeida. And Jessica's taken the lead with a lot of the Head Start work that's been happening in the region. And just wanted to mention that we spent Monday with the Head Start coordinators, many of which are here right now. And we're talking about the expansion of Head Start. So there's some great news coming down the way. We don't have all the information yet. However, we're hoping to ask for universal Head Start throughout Manitoba, as well as enhancements for the program. And there's just been ongoing kind of engagement with our Head Start coordinators on that, as well as with the Manitoba Child Advisory Committee. If you have anything to add? Yeah. So it's all part of an early learning and childcare framework development initiative. So there's an Indigenous framework being developed, and as part of that, there's apparently some funding attached to it. So we're jumping on the opportunity definitely to put forth that opportunity for expansion of Head Start to every community that needs it.
Before you leave the stage, I have one more question to the question that was already answered. So what about Aboriginal Head Start / daycare in the CFI Jordan's principle in regards to training and special needs worker / respite?
That one might be a bit of a combination answer, and that's what we're working together with bringing the Head Start coordinators here. We're also hoping to have some more dialogue about the joint training needs and moving forward so that both groups can benefit from that for the communities. We've heard a lot over the last while from the Head Start coordinators themselves about that specialized training. And so we do have a list of, sort of a wish list of what they would like to see. And I know the same kind of list is being generated. So it is something that we are looking at for sure.
And yeah, I have nothing else to add, but there will be lots of training coming up next year for what's needed, especially the Jordan's principle for us. We are working to increase that training. And we'll be working with the different groups that are involved in Jordan's principle work so that we can work from a collaborative process and provide our training.
Thank you. Okay, there's a number of questions on this piece of paper. Can we all agree to one rate for overnight respite?
The answer is yes. And now we are leaving it up to the communities, so I can't speak to the needs of each of our communities, but the answer is yes.
And the answer
is Jordan's principle.
Okay. Next question is, can we assist children who are non-status and will not be eligible for status? On reserve, that live on reserve? Okay.
For us at the FINIB, that's our concept when we fund our communities is we leave it up to them to make those decisions. We don't tell them not what to do or not what to do. But it has to stay within the budget. That's how we applied for the home care program, because some of the people that are in our communities are like teachers or people who have come or have been married to our community. So it's very much up to the program to decide, to make that decision. But we don't decide on behalf of our communities on what to do. But the funding that's coming to the communities is for First Nation. Right now, it's First Nations, whether they have status or no status, or especially for the respite. We are leaving up the community to determine who have those needs. But for the eligibility for the non-insured health benefit, you have to have registration. But we are also working with our INA counterparts to help and support families so that they can do the registration, as well as we are supporting them with what we call temporary B form, which allows children to be able to receive benefits as they wait for the registration to be process to be completed.
I just want to add, for those that weren't here this morning to hear Bonnie Beach, the director for Jordan's Principal, speak, she indicated that right now it is for status First Nations on and off reserve. However, going forward, they're advocating as well for all Indigenous peoples.
Okay, the next question is, why are family respite workers being cut off from social assistance? My understanding is respite pay is not considered income.
Okay, I'll ditto the response to the three questions before that, right? It is actually, respite would be considered household income. It, again, only the foster, the fee-for-service, and basic maintenance that is paid through the First Nations Child and Family Services Program or the provincial equivalent is deemed to be tax exempt, and therefore any other income such as support worker income or respite worker income is seen or viewed as taxable and therefore needs to be reported as income in the same purview as income assistance.
Do you want to respond to her comment? She said that contradicts what was being told at the workshop yesterday.
And I'm not sure who was informing you of that. I don't know. No, support work and respite work is viewed as income to that individual. Yeah, it's only the foster parent payment is actually tax exempt. So I'm not sure who was informing you of that.
Is that the same thing for on reserve? Is it different rates or whatever for on reserve and off reserve? Because the respite workshop you're probably talking about is the one that's offered off reserve.
As far as I'm aware, there is no difference with regards to respite or support worker rates under the Child and Family Services system. It would be the same rate. There would be no different.
If you're on reserve or off reserve,
no.
okay.
No, it's the provincial rules that would apply for all children in care, whether, again, they're on or off reserve.
Okay. Okay, next question. Can respite workers be given mileage?
I'm assuming I'm going to respond on the context of a Child and Family Services. Mm-hmm. Respite worker. It certainly could be something that's factored into the case plan if that's what the agency's choosing to do or look at. It would depend on the case, the situation, right? I would need particulars, and the agency would need to review it as to why there would be mileage claimed.
Okay. So all these questions are related to respite work, just so you're aware. The next question is, sorry. Yes. So there's two respite in regards to CFS and in regards to JP. I'm assuming these questions are in reference to Jordan's Principal respite and not necessarily CFS respite.
That's what I was assuming. So
yeah, so Joe or...
We'll let Joe and Mary tackle that one.
sorry for the confusion.
I want to probably bring us back to how we rolled out Jordan's Principle. We wanted the community to have self-governance, to lead the process. So we don't tell the communities how to compensate for respite. We allow the communities to use the policies to determine that. And that's what we agreed from the beginning, that the communities have to make those decisions. And we do that very much with almost every program at the FINIP, where we don't have what we call employer-employee relationship. We allow the communities to be able to decide to make those local decisions without us interfering. So for those questions about the mileage or even the pay, we are not responsible. It's the community that's responsible for making sure that people are being compensated for what they have they are working for. And we do our best to kind of provide some direction, but we allow the community to take their lead.
Okay, so the next question is there a method or formula that we can use to figure out how much to allocate each client or any guidelines for respite?
We don't have formulas, but yesterday I spent a little bit of time in Pinemutang, and what they have done, and I don't know whether April is still here, but what they have done is that they start with 8 hours, I believe, per week, and then depending on the needs, because respite is based on the needs. So depending on the needs, then they increase from 8 hours to whatever is needed by the family or by the child. April, are you here? Yeah, maybe April, if you don't mind, you can give us a little bit of background of how you do in Pinemutang. Yes, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm April. I just wanted to let you know, like in Pinemutang, every family that gets respite gets 10 hours a week. And then when we assess the child and the family dynamics and what they're needing, we give them an additional 8 hours every other week. So we have timesheets that they have to submit. They have respite logs that they have to submit to let us know what they're doing with the children. So all the timesheets are signed off, and we actually don't provide any mileage or anything to our respite workers. They just get a flat rate for the hours they provide.
Thank you. And I know other communities too have their way of doing things, but that's one way, but it's up to the community to come up with a process on how to determine how many hours. And that's the reason why we wanted clinicians under Jordan's principle to be the ones to do the assessment as well as determine, because like for me, my background is home care. And in home care, the way we did respite is the home care coordinator, who is a nurse, used to determine how many hours the child or the client needed. And once they determine those hours, they would either advise social assisted living, because they work together. If that funding is going or support is coming from the assisted living, but if it's going to be paid at the home care, then home care would provide that, the respite directly.
Awesome, thank you. So our next question is directed to Scott Amos. As you are aware, Indigenous Child and Family Service agencies are provincially mandated. If and when will the federal government mandate child and family services and allow Indigenous leaders to develop their own child welfare that is based on community values?
Very good question. Very good question, but I don't really have a response per se that's going to answer that. However, I can identify that there was a step taken last week by Canada, signing in a memorandum of understanding with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs to recognize the inherent right of First Nations people in Manitoba to assume the responsibility for their children and their families, and how any changes that will be coming as part of, or that are potentially on the table with regards to program reform associated with the way the government, the federal government, supports children and families, that they are committed to engaging in that dialogue with Manitoba leaders and through the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs to ensure that they are part of that discussion. I don't know, again, that MOU was just signed last week, right, on Thursday. So we're still trying to understand the technicalities of it, like what does it mean on the ground and how that's actually going to fold out or unravel. But certainly a strong federal commitment to work together with the leaders through the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs to I guess, look at what role they will play in child and family services moving forward.
Thank you for answering that to the best of your abilities. Our next question is directed to the Eagle Urban Transition Center. Do you service only Manitoba First Nations?
I'll answer that since Ryan's been speaking all day in the last 2 days. My name is Darlene Kirchie. I'm a special needs advocate with the Eagle Urban Transition Center. And yes, we do provide services to any First Nation within the province of Manitoba.
So we have a follow-up question further to that. What if a child's band is in Ontario, but they're in Manitoba?
Yes, we do provide services for residents of Manitoba and Ontario, and if they're living within the province of Manitoba, yes.
Thank you.
Further to that, I just answered this question. Another person asked me. So we start a collaboration process with wherever that child's from. Like if they're registered to, let's say, I think White Dog, Ontario is a First Nation in Ontario. So if they're from there but they live in Winnipeg, we'll contact the regional Jordan's principal coordinator over there and let them know that we have one of your members here accessing services and it's coming through us. So they put a rate on it and they, it's a long process, but they end up paying the service. We'll provide the service right away, but we'll get reimbursed later on. So it's happened on more than one occasion. We've dealt with this before, and yes, we provide that service.
Thank you for that response. Our next question asks, when we talk about future planning, do we take into account the population explosion we are experiencing, i.e. St. Teresa Point School, specifically grades nursery to 4? We have 20 physical classrooms with 600 students. Currently, nursery to grades 2 go to school half days. So I'll get Scott Amos to answer that. Or
we'll defer to Derek Bradley.
Okay, Derek.
I'll defer to Scott Amos. No, the projections are taken into consideration. So when a First Nation is moving towards a new school facility or doing a feasibility study around that, the numbers are taken into consideration, and those numbers are shared between the leadership of that community and the department, and then they work through the space and what's required for that First Nation.
Thank you. So our next question asks, what is the link between social income assistance when we have children who have a severe disability, where a child needs 24-hour care, where an able parent cannot work, or if a child is in hospital for an extended period of time, becomes case of forced poverty, putting the family at risk of being investigated within the family at Child and Family Services? What is the income connecting with social income assistance?
I'm not too sure I can answer that. Again, can we get the question again, just so I got it right, because there's a lot in there.
Yeah. So what is the link between social income assistance? When we have children who have a severe disability, where a child needs 24-hour care, where an able parent cannot work, or if a child is in a hospital for an extended period of time because of forced poverty, putting the family at risk of being investigated within the family at Child and Family Services. What is the income connecting with social income assistance? I'm just asking it as it's spelled out there.
Yeah, the income, again, the social assistance program under what's formerly known as INAC programs would be income-based. I don't have all the details with regards to threshold. As Betty Ann had mentioned in our overview this morning, our income assistance specialist was unfortunately taken away from today's presentation due to a death in the family. So if the person that's asking that question is in the room, we can certainly take that information back, because I don't want to misinform and misrespond to the question. And I would want to make sure that the information that's provided to the person that's asking the question is accurate. But in there too, it's a little to unpack that. I mean, I just want to make sure that when we're talking about the complex nature of the child that's living in the home, and that this situation is occurring because of that dynamic, certainly if there's gaps in access and services to the family and getting the support they need for their child, then that would be something that I would recommend comes forward through our Jordan's principal focal points, either Mary or Joe. So.
Okay, thank you for answering that to the best of your ability.
Further to that, we've had similar situations where that a child was sick and then the parent needed to provide the 24-hour care, or at least somewhat of that the majority of that 24-hour care. In regards to EIA off reserve, our advocacy role, when we advocated for that parent, EIA was more than willing to work around that and try to alleviate some of that financial pressure that the family was under. But as long as the doctors that they were working with were willing to sign off on long-term disability forms for that child, and the child, as long as the doctor provided written statements saying that child needed 24-hour assistance, then EIA was more than willing to assist in that regard to keep CFS uninvolved.
Thank you, Ryan, for that clarification.
I'll just tag on, Jared, just on that. So I wasn't aware of that even detail, but I can communicate that our income assistance program supporting the administration of that program on reserve is based on provincial rules and rates. So I suspect then that our response would be very similar, that as long as there's a physician note or letter that provides clarification regarding the situation in the home, that we would also follow suit with the provincial EIA program.
Okay, further to that, it's not included in there, but I'm just wondering, I'm also a policy analyst with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs and Jordan's Principal Service Coordination. So from the standpoint of poverty, I know a lot of doctors charge you for a doctor's note. For those that are facing poverty and cannot afford to pay $30 or whatever the doctor charges for that doctor's note, how are they able to jump through those hoops?
I can speak into, right now we are funding AMC Eagle Armband for short-term respite, as well as if there is a situation where someone needs immediate support, that can go through AMC Eagle Armband. We can help to pay the $40 or $50. So yeah, for those kind of situations, if they are related to a mom or a child, we can support that. Yeah.
Thank you for that answer, Joe. We have a question. It's a bit of a lengthy one. Some background information. So, a family of 2 patients with psychological disabilities had children apprehended. The parents went through programs outlined from Child and Family Services to get their children back. They went for family treatments for addictions and counseling. They have their children home but are on probation. Due to being on probation, they are not allowed supports such as respite. They are to attend an aftercare program and should be attending meetings for maintained sobriety. They do not have anyone to stay with children, nor do they have transportation. They are at home 24/7 with no support to help them during a vulnerable time. No time for self meetings or shop, always with the 3 children, all under school age with no support until probation period is over. There's a bit missing to that. So is it that parents on probation through Child and Family Services do not allow to have supports until after the probation period? Isn't this setting up the children to fail?
Based on the scenario that you just read, I would agree that it is somewhat of a situation that doesn't sound like it would succeed and lead to potential future breakdown. But to respond to the question, I'm not familiar with the actual case or the agency involved, but certainly the agencies would have the flexibility with the funding that's provided to support the on-reserve service delivery to provide some transitional supports to ensure that there was success with that transition of those children back into the home. But again, that's a blanket kind of statement, and again, I don't know the specifics of this case or the agency involved, but certainly I would hope that the agency is able to reconsider their decision to ensure that there are the necessary supports put into the home to ensure there's a successful transition of those children back with their parents.
And I just want to add to what Scott just said here. If there's scenarios such as these, please bring them to our attention, because sometimes it's just a lack of awareness, because it's obvious how can parents be expected to attend support groups and yet not leave their children with anyone, with a respite worker or whatnot. Certainly children can't go to those support classes like AA. So if there's anything like that out there that just seems out of whack and just doesn't make sense, bring it to our attention and we'll help you work through it.
They can also come to the Special Needs Advocate Unit to get advocacy services to help address the issues with the Child and Family Service Agency in regards to providing supports and collaborating a support plan with the CFS agency and the parents to ensure that their needs are all being met.
Thank you for that, Scott, Mary, and Darlene. So it's at 3:26. We have one question left. Last question is, the result of the addictions of our young parents shows up in our children. How do we begin to address national drug formulary and how doctors prescribe medications, the shortage of detox programs and treatment centers?
That is an enormous question. I can't even begin to address all of that. Certainly lack of treatment centers is an issue across the country. Doctor prescribing habits are an issue. I know of one such case in Winnipeg. A lady called, this was a number of years ago, and she was concerned with what and how her personal physician was prescribing, not only to her, but potentially other people. Their office was right beside a pharmacy, and she herself had witnessed many times people going from the doctor to the pharmacy, walking out the door, around the corner, and selling those medications. So that doctor, through a lot of work and a lot of investigation, not collaboratively with the College of Physicians and Surgeons, as well as at the time our regional pharmacist, Jack Rosentreter, that doctor's prescribing ability was limited drastically. So I encourage you or anyone that you know, if they're having issues or suspect, to contact the College of Physicians and Surgeons, bring your concerns to them. They will investigate. If you're witnessing illegal activities, contact the local police force. Unfortunately, there's not anything that non-insured can do to facilitate the stoppage of people selling their medications. That it has to be left up to law enforcement. Non-insured does have a prescription monitoring program. There's information available online. What that does is, based on, sometimes it's the medications that are being prescribed, the amounts, the physician's headquarters runs different reports, and they may limit a person to one prescribing physician unless they're at a hospital for emergency treatment. So that limits that person can only go to that specific doctor to get prescriptions that would be funded through non-insured. Now, the limitation to that is it doesn't stop that person from going to a different doctor, going to a pharmacy, the pharmacy saying, I'm sorry, I can't fill that, the person pulling out money and paying for it and walking out the door. That's the limitation to that. So it's good and it's not. But I strongly, again, suggest if you're witnessing any bad prescribing habits of physicians, definitely contact the College of Physicians and Surgeons and let them know of your concern and the circumstances.
Thank you for your response. So that concludes our panel discussion today. I'd like to thank everyone for your questions you posed today, and I would also like to ask you to join me in giving a round of applause to our panelists today.
Just one thing, we also work with the WRHA Aboriginal Health Services, and they're at every hospital. So if you're aware of a child being, say, medevaced into the city, connect with them and make them aware that this child is in the hospital or this parent is with this child, because we've worked with them when there was no money and it was a very well-oiled machine. And they tried their darndest to get things happening for these parents and get them the services that they needed or the support that they needed. So don't forget they're there, and they're in every hospital. So they're there for your access.
Yes. How's that, everybody? Hope you enjoyed that. Let's give our presenters another big round of applause. All right, we've come to the conclusion. I hope everybody had a chance to fill out their evaluation forms. We're taking them up at where they're selling tickets over here to my left. If you haven't done so, please do so. And hand them in before you leave today. So over the last 3 days, there have been a lot of, there's still a lot of questions, and we knew that this was going to happen. There's always going to be a lot of questions in regards to new initiatives that are growing. As we move forward, we always encourage one another. I know at our office to roll with the punches, so to speak. You know, as we get new challenges, and I'm sure you guys are going to be getting new challenges as we move forward into the future. Roll with the punches, look after one another, be kind to one another, and all the questions that are coming forth in regards to some unanswered questions, like I know we mentioned it, the MOU that was signed by the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs. There's going to be changes coming, and we got to be able to adapt to those changes that are coming down our way. And there are probably going to be more changes coming in regards to Jordan's principle as well. But a lot of it comes from the hard work that each and every one of you are doing at your home community. Those recommendations that move forward as you're compiling your reports, as you're compiling your recommendations. Keep up the good work. I know there's a lot of good work happening at the community level, at the tribal council level, at the federal level. I know there's a lot of hardworking people putting their heart and soul into this initiative, and you can see it. It's evident. It's evident here today. It was evident during the past 2 days, and it's evident every day as we work with the people that we work with and try to assist and try to make their lives better. So keep up the good work, and I'd like to give everybody a big round of applause for all the work that you guys do. And with that, our last draw for this TV up here. So Darlene's got pull out your red tickets. pink? Are they pink? Oh, yes, pink tickets. Pink tickets. All right. And you remember, I'm just a messenger. I had some bribes trying to come my way. I said, how am I supposed to pick your number? Okay. I always pick from the bottom, so. Last four numbers. 9255. 9255. Last two numbers. I'll look one more time straight down my glasses. 9255. Oh, there's our lucky winner. 9255. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, so before everybody goes, I'm going to ask our elder to say a closing prayer. So before anybody leaves, we'll get the closing prayer done.
I'd like to acknowledge everyone that had participated the 3-day workshop, and I guess to give thanks to everybody else, the workers, especially the food, the cooks, and I guess I want to say that to this time of the year that we must to remember our children's and our grandkids, and everybody else. The Christmas is coming. Remember them in your prayers, in your thoughts, and also the safe journey that you guys are going home. A lot of you are going home. Be safe, and be safe during the holidays. And then look after one another, because this time of the year that a lot of our youth, our people do not have what we have. A lot of them are still struggling. And remember them in your prayers, remember them in your thoughts, everywhere you go. And one of the things that I teach my kids is to appreciate whatever they get, what they get and what they see, and not to be stingy. And I hope that you can do the same thing for your kids. Teach them that appreciation, and teach them that kindness and that love that we in our teachings. And then I'll sing a song in that way that we all come in one heart, the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And sometimes we forget what we do because we're so busy in our lives. We're taking care of everybody, taking care of our children and the people that are suffering. But don't forget yourself. Never forget yourself, because people will need you. Frontline workers. Everybody needs each other and become one heartbeat. I like to say Miigwech. And then the MC did a good job. And then I like to say Miigwech for him. And here goes there. good.
So I just want to give a big shout out to all the staff, special needs advocate unit staff, the Jordan's principal, policy team. Thank you so much. I really appreciated all the help that you assisted with this gathering. Thank you so much to all the participants for all the time and traveling that you did to get here. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Safe travels to all of you. Drive safe out there. Make sure you get to your loved ones.